Mohit is a 26-year-old salaried person, knows that cancer cases are on the rise, and so are the treatment costs. He opts for ICICI-approved heart cancer protected plan with a cancer cover of 10 lakh rupees. This policy covers all major and minor disease conditions.
Their sturdiness, who've proven their accomplishments over the course of many years. So this part right here is what Isro will believe they have it in the bag. Now, what are the challenges? We've spoken to many scientists, many experts who say, look, there are two things that you need to watch out for going forward. Now, in the next less than 1 hour, you're going to be seeing the launch happening. After that, what happens next? It's not like, the Isro scientists can put their hands up and say, look, we've got this now. It's not the case at all, because it's going to take 4 months for them to reach 1.5 million kilometers from where they are, about 11 lakh kilometers essentially. And then after that also, for 5 years, Aditya L1 will be in action. Right now, he's seated comfortably and PSLV will be doing all the hard work. But once he reaches that particular point of
Morning. It's a big day for them, including for the scientists at Isro at the Space Application Center in Ahmedabad, where you are. But it's not just the scientists who are excited about today. Who are excited about today, Milan?
Out of the seven payloads that will be on payloads that will be on Aditya L1, we know that six of them will be only payload that will be on during a cruise phase that has been created here at the Isro Space Application Center in Ahmedabad. And of course, that being said, a lot of scientists are looking at Aditya L1 launch today, but so are the children. It's a great opportunity for children to learn something new. And I'm at the Science City here in Ahmedabad, where the children are being taught what exactly is Aditya L1. And I also want to go and speak to these excited young ones who are the ones that take the opportunity to learn more. You are being taught here about Aditya L1. What do you understand? Just tell me in a short sentence.
Aditya L1 is a mission which will go in the L1 range, means lying range of sun, which is in between the earth and sun. There is zero gravity in that, and it will maintain the same. If it will go around the sun, then how it can pass message to earth, and if it will be in the median, and it can
Excellent. Which class are you in?
I'm in 8th.
8th standard. What about you?
I'm also in 8th standard. I understood that the Aditya L1 mission will study about the sun, the outermost layer also, and this is for 109 days.
All right. So the mission will take about 127 to more days to reach. But just want to talk to a few more children, Shiv, before I toss back to you. What is the message you want to send to our Indian scientists who are constantly working on new missions?
We are very proud to be an Indian. I want to tell that Before the establishment of ISRO, the New York published a message, means image type. In that image, it showed that Indian scientists are nothing in front of NASA institution, and they were going to join the NASA institution. But now we can show that we can do anything, whatever we want. We have the power of science and technology.
So cute. Excellent, Shiv. So every child, everyone knows India's progress when it comes to launching missions now into space. And of course, that little child also knew the kind of work that India has now done to reach, or not do we want to reach an elite club, but just the fact that India's not a country behind anymore on any sort of space missions. And of course, the excitement here will build on just moments before the launch as these young minds are being told about India's Sun mission today. Shiv, back to you.
It's absolutely incredible. Young minds, ignited minds, expressing their pride about ISRO and what our scientists are doing today is something that cannot be replicated. It's something that is going to have so many benefits going into the future, making India more than just the kind of space power it already is, but a country that is seen to be one to be emulated even by the big established space powers like the United States, Europe, Russia, and others. I'm going to stay live with these pictures. I don't want to move away from these pictures now because it's 11:17, just over half hour to go, just over half hour to go for that launch. So I don't want, that's the pictures you see on my screen right now are the live pictures. These are live, undeferred, unedited pictures from the launch site at the Satish Dhawan Space Center. And I don't want our viewers to miss even a moment of that. So I'm going to keep those pictures on our screen and I'm going to get you some of the latest reactions and sound bites we've gotten here on our coverage. Listen in.
Next launch is this one, Aditya L1. What is next launch? Another one. After that launch is the Gaganyaan launch. Gaganyaan launch will be a test vehicle launch. So it is getting ready. So that will happen mostly by October, first or second week. After that, we will have launch of GSLV Mark II GSLV launch for INSAT 3DS. Then we will have launch of SSLV D3. Okay. Then again we will have launch of PSLV. Then we will have launch of GSLV Mark III. Like that it will continue. Huh?
Okay, I'm just going to be showing you in just a moment what the India Today cover looks like. Very, very proud to show you the new India Today magazine cover, which is a tribute to India's space heroes. I'll have that on your screen in just a couple of minutes from now. But pictures live on your screen of the Satish Dhawan Space Center, where that PSLV C5 rocket will be blasting off 30 minutes from now. Very, very crucial time. In 10 minutes from now, the live commentary will begin from the ISRO. And I'm, of course, going to shut up completely so all of our viewers can listen to that, without any interruptions and without any distractions. That's a promise from India Today's side that you'll be able to hear all the sounds coming in from ISRO. Currently, there's no audio from the ground. We'll be going across to Akshita and Pramod in just a moment. This is what the launch pad looks like right now, viewer. Live pictures of the launch pad. Everything is set. Only final touch personnel are on site to conduct last-minute inspections before all humans move away from the site for the final blast off. 30 minutes to go for that mission to begin. It's going to take 1 hour for the rocket to push the Aditya L1 into low Earth orbit, and then it begins a 120-day, 4-month journey towards what is called the Lagrange 1 point, which is about 1.5 million kilometers between the Earth and the Sun. Not close to the Sun at all, but far closer to the Sun than we are here on Earth. Pramod's got the real view that everyone wants, and he's live with us from a place which has a beautiful vantage point from where you're going to be able to see that the blast off taking place against India's eastern coast sky. Pramod, no turning back now. Everything locked and loaded. Okay, we'll go back to Pramod. I think there's some audio issues, but we're still going to stay with these pictures. What you're seeing on your screen right now, you can see one clear image. That's the outside camera showing you what's going on. The slightly more blurry gray images, viewer, are images taken from the telemetry and data screens inside ISRO, and that's why camera to camera they look a little blurred, but those are crystal clear images that our scientists, men and women of ISRO, are receiving live from the launch pad. Let's just listen into some of the audio coming in.
और इसके बाद रोवर ने पृथ्वी से 3,80,000 किलोमीटर दूर चंद्रमा पर विचरण कर भारत की अमिट छाप छोड़ दी है। इसके साथ ही भारत चंद्रमा के दक्षिणी ध्रुव पर सकुशल उतरने वाला विश्व का पहला देश बन चुका है। यह सब संभव हो पाया है इसरो के कुशल मार्गदर्शन और वैज्ञानिकों के अथक प्रयास से, लेकिन ये तो सिर्फ शुरुआत है। अब इसरो तेजोमय सूर्य के अध्ययन के प्रयोजन से आदित्य L1 नामक अंतरिक्ष यान को आज 2 सितंबर 2023 को श्रीहरिकोटा के द्वितीय प्रमोचन मंच से भारतीय मानक समय के अनुसार सुबह 11:50 पर PSLV C57 रॉकेट द्वारा प्रमोचित करेगा। आइए चलें सूर्य की ओर और विज्ञान के कुछ और रहस्यों से पर्दा उठाने और वैज्ञानिक तकनीक का प्रदर्शन करने। तो बने रहिए हमारे साथ आज के इस मिशन में, जिसका नाम है PSLV C57 आदित्य L1 मिशन।
MC2CDP and control real-time programs loaded.
Namaste viewers. The Indian Space Research Organization is gearing for its rendezvous with the Sun.
R2 pulsar on.
To take you along on the live telecast of this momentous event today, I am Madhuri, giving the commentary in English.
P4 MOT, you can switch
With
on the
me
radio.
is my co-commentator, Shivikas Swarnkar, who will be giving the commentary in Hindi.
Copied.
We are about to script yet another chapter in the glorious space research history of India. Today, the workhorse rocket PSLV C57 will carry Aditya L1, the solar observatory of India, to be placed at a vantage point from where it will be able to continuously observe the sun and while being in the visibility of Earth-based ground stations. 10 days ago, India became the first country in the world to safely land a spacecraft in the South Polar regions on the moon. I'm sure many of you were the eager and proud spectators of the Chandrayaan 3 landing that was being telecast from ISRO, situated in Bangalore.
Roger.
We bring to you an integration film for the PSLV C57 that took place in Satish Dhawan Space Center, SHAR, Sriharikota.
Just saw pictures of Dr. Somnath and senior scientists from the Aditya L1 project who were on your screen just a moment ago. These are pictures, of course, from earlier in the preparations of the Aditya L1 and the rocket that's going to be taking it towards the sun. But the ISRO commentary will be starting, has already started as a matter of fact, and will be on until the launch. And so we're going to stay live on that. Pramod Madhav is back with us. I hope he can hear me. Pramod, you're going to have the best view in the room of this big blast off. Looks like everything's locked and loaded. Dr. Somnath in live pictures was just visible to us briefly. He looked busy. I'm sure we'll get a chance to speak to him a little later.
57 XL mission. So
it absolutely is true, and yes, we do have the best view. In fact, that's behind me. Within those 4 structures that you see is the PSLV C57, fully loaded with the Aditya L1, completely loaded with all the required fuel, and is ready for launch. And just probably 20-30 minutes, we are going to see it soar up the sky. And this is one point. We saw the magnificent LB-M3 soar up as well, and you could see that even the sky is pretty clear, and we are hopeful and waiting for a brilliant launch from here. ISRO scientists have also stated that whatever parameters, weather parameters that are required have all been good so far, and that's the reason they chose this day, especially 11:50 a.m. as the time period. And there you see the rocket is ready to be launched.
Rocket is completely ready to be launched. In these pictures on the ISRO screens, the sky looks grey, but I can guarantee you the sky is absolutely blue. It's a beautifully sunny day, and the sun is the destination for this rocket that's going to be blasting off, carrying the Aditya L1 spacecraft. $45 million is the cost of this entire mission. Less than half of what the next most expensive project of this kind has actually cost its space agency. So all eyes are now on the launch pad. This camera fixed on the launch pad from where in just a few minutes from now, it's 23 minutes to go for the launch, the liftoff of the PSLV C5 rocket carrying the Aditya L1 launch, putting India in an amazing exclusive club. And I'm bringing Sneha back in on our coverage as well. Sneha, of just a few countries that have attempted something like this. The United States, of course, has far more advanced missions. In fact, in 2021, their Parker probe, managed to briefly touch the sun's corona itself, which is a very advanced achievement. But what India has done is only take that next step in the exploration of the sun. And that's the picture we're looking at right now, the beginnings of that.
Well, absolutely. And Shiv, look at the kind of enthusiasm that really stands out as far as these developments from ISRO and how they've delighted the...
Its operation 200 milliseconds after the separation of first stage. By this time, the rocket would have attained 55 kilometers altitude. The closed-loop guidance is initiated, which compares the present stage of rocket to the intended injection point to compute an optimal trajectory. This happens while the rocket is at 59.7 kilometers altitude. At 204 seconds into the flight, the payload fairing is separated as the launch vehicle These events are taking place in the operational regime of the second stage, which lasts for 153 seconds. PS2 was separated 262.4 seconds into the flight at an altitude of 130 kilometers, while the relative velocity is 4.9 kilometers per second. The third stage, PS3, ignites about a second later and burns 418 seconds, during which time it adds 12 kilometers to the altitude and enhances relative velocity tremendously from 4.9 kilometers per second to 7.3 kilometers per second. There is a coast phase of 200 seconds that follow PS3 burnout, during which there is no thrust being developed, but the rocket continues to be steered. At 581 seconds into the flight, the PS3 separates, and the last in the fourth stage of the rocket, together with the Aditya L1 spacecraft, coasts for a long time thereafter. Till 1396 seconds into flight, the tracking stations at SHAR, Port Blair, Brunei and back will be acquiring the real-time performance data of the flight. But thereafter, there is no visibility period of around 1600 seconds or 27 minutes. The fourth stage burns twice. First time for a duration of 30 seconds and second time for a duration of 472 seconds. The first burn takes place in no visibility zone, and the second burn is tracked by a shipborne terminal placed in Pacific Ocean. About 200 seconds after the completion of second burn of PS4, the injection conditions for the separation of Aditya L1 are expected to be achieved. An altitude of 648.7 kilometers and a relative velocity of 8.9 kilometers per second, which translates into an orbit of 235 by 19,500 kilometers. The injection event of Aditya L1 will be confirmed by tracking station at Kourou. From the initial placement in low Earth orbit, Aditya L1 will undergo a series of earthbound orbit raising, and eventually it will exit Earth's sphere of influence to reach Lagrange's point L1 in a journey spanning over 4 months. There it will be placed in a halo orbit around L1. This is how India's first observatory class space-based solar mission will take shape.
Vehicle is in internal battery power.
अब हम उड़ान से 6 मिनट की दूरी पर हैं। ALS जारी है। सभी जांच सुचारू रूप से जारी हैं। इस दौरान यहाँ उपस्थित आप देखिए, यहाँ
External power supplies are withdrawn.
व्यूअर्स गैलरी पे, लॉन्च व्यू गैलरी पे उपस्थित जन आक्रोश, इनका रोमांच देखते ही बनता है। इतनी
Flight coefficient loading
मौसम
initiated.
यहाँ लगभग 37 डिग्री का टेम्परेचर है, वायु गति 0.8 मीटर पर सेकेंड। इन सब के बावजूद यहाँ
Flight loading
उपस्थित हुए
completed.
हैं इस रोमांच को देखने के लिए। एयर ट्रैफिक कंट्रोलर और मौसम विभाग की अनुमति भी प्राप्त की जा चुकी है। विभिन्न ऊंचाई पर वायु गति माप ली गई है और इसे ऑनबोर्ड कंप्यूटर पर लोड कर दिया गया है।
The Satish Dhawan Space Center has its own meteorology department which keeps a very close watch on the weather at the launch base. Weather today is going to be dry and hot. The skies will remain clear. Ground winds will be benign and upper winds also are benign for the flight of PSLV C57 Aditya L1 mission. We are 4 minutes, 23 seconds to the launch.
सभी वैज्ञानिक अपने कंसोल पर आंकड़े देखते हुए सभी तंत्र सामान्य निष्पादन कर रहे हैं। अब हम 4 मिनट की दूरी पर हैं उड़ान से।
T-4 minutes and counting.
सामान्यतः PSLV के मिशन लगभग 2000 सेकेंड में प्राप्त कर लिए जाते हैं, लेकिन यह मिशन कुछ अलग है। इस मिशन में PSLV के चतुर्थ चरण यानी PS4 को 2 बार में प्रज्वलित कर यह उद्दिष्ट कक्षा प्राप्त की जाएगी। इसका मतलब PS4 को प्रथम कोस्टिंग फेज के बाद प्रज्वलित किया जाएगा, फिर 30 सेकेंड प्रज्वलित रहकर यह बंद हो जाएगा, फिर करीब 1600 सेकेंड की कोस्टिंग फेज जारी रहेगी। तत्पश्चात फिर से PS4 को प्रज्वलित कर 472 सेकेंड तक प्रणोद उत्पन्न किया जाएगा और फिर शांत हो जाएगा। आदित्य L1 के कक्षा की स्थिति प्राप्त होते ही उसे निर्दिष्ट कक्षा में अंतक्षेपित किया जाएगा। इस तरह पूरे मिशन में लगभग 3800 सेकेंड का समय लगेगा।
T-3 minutes and counting.
यह PSLV C57 का प्रमोशन यान ट्रैकिंग के संदर्भ में भी काफी जटिल है। इसे ट्रैक करने के लिए शार, पोर्ट ब्लेयर, ब्रूने और बैग स्थित ग्राउंड स्टेशन हमें वास्तविक समय पे यान की जानकारी उपलब्ध कराते रहेंगे। लेकिन चतुर्थ चरण के प्रज्वलन के समय यान हमारे ग्राउंड स्टेशन की दृष्टि से दूर जा चुका होगा, इसलिए शिपबोर्न ट्रैकिंग या शिपबोर्न टर्मिनल को दक्षिणी पैसिफिक महासागर में स्थित किया गया है। वह हमें PS4 बर्न 1 और बर्न 2 की जानकारी उपलब्ध कराएगा। इसके बाद PS4 शट ऑफ और आदित्य L1 के अंतक्षेपण की पुष्टि कुरु फ्रेंच गयाना स्थित ग्राउंड स्टेशन से की जाएगी।
T-2 minutes and counting.
अब हम उड़ान से 1 मिनट 50 सेकेंड की दूरी पर। यह PSLV की 59वीं उड़ान होगी और इस PSLV XL संस्करण में यह 25वीं उड़ान है। इसरो के वर्क हॉर्स कहे जाने वाले इस रॉकेट कई ऐतिहासिक मिशन को सफलतापूर्वक संपन्न किया है, जिसमें चंद्रयान 1 और मार्स ऑर्बिटर मिशन उल्लेखनीय है। यह प्रमोशन वर्ष 2023 का 7वां मिशन होगा। इस साल की शुरुआत में SSLV के सफल प्रमोशन से शुरुआत कर LVM-3 के 2 प्रमोशन, GSLV Mark II का 1 और PSLV के 2 सफल प्रमोशन हो चुके हैं। यह PSLV का वर्तमान वर्ष में 3रा मिशन है।
All stations stand by for the time mark. T-1 minute and counting. -55 seconds.
All stops are armed.
-50 seconds.
All sequences armed.
तो हमारे साथ बने रहिए। अब 40 सेकंड पर
-40 seconds.
प्रमोशन किया
PS2
जाएगा।
VHPP open.
-35 seconds. -30 seconds.
Real-time programs activated.
-25 seconds.
PS2 VSPP open.
-20 seconds.
PS on ignition RMS arm.
-15 seconds. 3, 2, 1, 0. +5 seconds.
Lift off normal.
P1 tracking.
PC tracking.
Magnificent liftoff of PSLV C57 with Aditya L1 on board.
+15 seconds.
PSLV C57 का सफल उत्थापन और इसके साथ प्रथम भारतीय सौर अंतरिक्ष यान निकल चुका है सूर्य के तेज से विज्ञान को प्रकाश करने।
Air lead strap on ignited.
इसके साथ ही एक और कदम है अंतर्ग्रहीय सफर में भारत की उपस्थिति सिद्ध करने का। आप देख रहे हैं PSLV C57 प्रथम चरण पूरी तरह सामान्य।
The rocket flying forth, following nominal trajectory and developing nominal thrust. The bright fumes against a clear midday sky. A rocket launch is more than just a sight to behold. The roaring sound and the vibrations that we can feel here. Adding to this, the thrill are just amazing. Ground-lit and air-lit strap-ons operating together with the first stage, S139.
Ground lead strap on separated.
जैसा कि निर्धारित है ग्राउंड लेड स्ट्रैप ऑन को सेपरेट कर दिया गया है और प्रथम चरण का निष्पादन सामान्य है। इस घटनाक्रम में अगला एयर लेड स्ट्रैप ऑन को यान से पृथक कर दिया जाएगा।
Air lead strap on separated.
जी हाँ, इसकी भी पुष्टि हो गई है। स्ट्रैप ऑन को सफलतापूर्वक पृथक कर दिया गया है।
We are 100 seconds past the launch time. The ground-lit and air-lit strap-ons have been separated. S139 motor still thrusting.
S139 110 सेकंड के प्रज्वलन काल के पश्चात उसे भी पृथक कर दिया गया है।
+2 minutes.
द्वितीय चरण जो कि तरल नोदक पर आधारित चरण है, इसका प्रज्वलन शुरू हो चुका है और वर्तमान में प्रणोद उत्पन्न कर रहा है।
The launch vehicle is at an altitude of 73 kilometers. First stage has been separated. Second stage has begun its operation and the closed loop guidance has been initiated. According to the announcement by Range Operations Director, PS2 is developing nominal thrust.
PS2 41 टन के तरल नोदक पर आधारित चरण है। इसमें विकास इंजन द्वारा 800 किलो न्यूटन का प्रणोद उत्पन्न होता है और इसका प्रज्वलन काल लगभग 150 सेकंड का होगा।
SHAR and Port Blair tracking stations presently acquiring signals. Flight path closely matching the prediction.
+3 minutes.
वर्तमान में यान क्लोज लूप गाइडेंस के अंतर्गत है।
Second stage performance normal.
यान की ऊंचाई 106 किलोमीटर तथा सापेक्ष गति 3 किलोमीटर प्रति सेकंड।
The velocity addition in PS2 regime is going to be from 2 kilometers per second to 4.9 kilometers per second.
Payload fairing separated.
The payload fairing covering the Aditya L1 spacecraft has been separated. The current altitude of the launch vehicle is 118 kilometers. Relative velocity exceeding 3.8 kilometers per second.
जी हाँ, यान अब घने वातावरण से बाहर जा चुका है, इसलिए ऊष्मा कवच की जरूरत नहीं रह जाती है और इस कारण इसे यान से पृथक कर दिया जाता है।
Second stage performance normal.
द्वितीय चरण वर्तमान में प्रणोद उत्पन्न करता हुआ और यान पूरी तरह सामान्य प्रदर्शन करता हुआ अपने अनुमानित पथ की ओर बढ़ रहा है।
Second stage separated. Third stage ignited.
द्वितीय चरण को भी सफलतापूर्वक यान से पृथक कर दिया गया है उसके प्रज्वलन काल समाप्त होने पर।
Normal.
और तृतीय चरण जो कि ठोस नोदक पर आधारित चरण है इसका प्रज्वलन शुरू हो चुका है।
We are close to 5 minutes past the launch time. Presently, the third stage of PSLV is operational, developing nominal thrust.
Plus 5 minutes.
तृतीय चरण में 7.6 टन के ठोस नोदक का प्रयोग होता है और इसका प्रज्वलन काल 117.7 सेकंड का होगा। इस दौरान यह 240 किलोन्यूटन का प्रणोद उत्पन्न करेगा। वर्तमान में यान की ऊंचाई 134 किलोमीटर तथा सापेक्ष गति 5.96 किलोमीटर प्रति सेकंड। जैसा कि हम जानते हैं PSLV सबसे विश्वसनीय रॉकेट रहा है इसरो का, वैसा ही प्रदर्शन करता हुआ एक और मिशन PSLV C57 का।
For the present mission, after PS3 completes its burn duration, a coast phase of 200 seconds will follow, in which the rocket will continue to be steered while there is no development of thrust.
जी हाँ, अभी कुछ ही क्षणों में PS3 का प्रज्वलन काल समाप्त हो चुका है और होस्टिंग फेज इसके बाद जारी रहेगा।
Vehicle in combined hosting for approximately 200 seconds.
Unique to this mission, the PS4 will start twice at pre-designated times and duration. The multiple start capability of PS4 will be utilized very aptly to achieve the argument of perigee of 346.6 degrees, which is very crucial for this mission. The commencement and duration of PS4 burns enable achieving this orbital parameter. Argument of perigee is the angle that is made by the perigee point from the ascending node at equatorial plane. AOP exceeding 300 degrees is helpful in mission planning to achieve halo orbit around L1 with minimal propellant expenditure.
सभी वैज्ञानिक गहनता से अध्ययन करते हुए इन आंकड़ों का जो कि ग्राउंड स्टेशन द्वारा प्रसारित किए जा रहे हैं। वर्तमान में PS3 PS4 कंबाइंड कोस्टिंग फेज जारी है। यान की ऊंचाई 170 किलोमीटर तथा सापेक्ष गति 7.32 किलोमीटर प्रति सेकंड है।
Vehicle performance normal.
ಹಾಲಿಡೇ ಪ್ಲಾನಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಮೂವಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಡ್ರಾಮಾ. ಆ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ನನ್ನ ಗುಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಬುಕ್ ಮಾಡೋದು. 16 ಕೋಟಿ ಆಪ್ ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ಸ್, 29 ಲಕ್ಷ ಹೋಟೆಲ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಹೋಮ್ ಸ್ಟೇಸ್, ರೋಚಕ ಬೆಲೆ. ಅಗೋಡ ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡಿ.
Travel in style with National Miles.
This mighty jewel, the light of eastern sky, who generates, operates, and destroys the universe, while the energy of sun, after having filtered by the atmosphere, is available for the sustenance of Earth, the explosive phenomena in sun and the solar flares are a cause for concern to the spacecraft and human space missions. The vantage point for such observations is a place in between the sun and Earth.
Third stage separated.
Now we have a successful separation event of the third stage of
Separated
PSLV.
hosting, it is approximately 900 seconds.
Plus 10 minutes.
जी हाँ, तृतीय चरण को सफलतापूर्वक पृथक कर दिया गया है और अब PS4 कोस्टिंग फेज पर है। इस दौरान कोई भी प्रणोद उत्पन्न नहीं हो रहा है। यान प्राप्त संवेग से आगे बढ़ता हुआ और निर्धारित पथ का अनुकरण करता हुआ जा रहा है।
We are 627 seconds from the launch. For another 600 more seconds or so, we will be getting tracking data from the BIAX ground station.
यह कोस्टिंग फेज लगभग 900 सेकंड का होगा। इस दौरान हम आपको कुछ जानकारी देते हैं। लैग्रेंज पॉइंट से जुड़े कुछ रोचक तथ्य भी हैं, जैसे कि इस पॉइंट का नाम एक इटालियन फ्रेंच गणितज्ञ जोसेफ लुई लैग्रेंज के सम्मान में रखा गया था। उन्होंने 1972 में इसे अपनी तकनीकी प्रपत्र जनरल 3 बॉडी प्रॉब्लम में वर्णित किया है, लेकिन इससे पहले भी 3 पॉइंट L1, L2 और L3 को खोजने का श्रेय स्विस गणितज्ञ लियोनार्ड आयलर को जाता है। L1 पॉइंट पर नासा ने पहले ही सोलर एंड हेलियोस्फेरिक ऑब्जर्वेटरी सोहो को पहुंचा चुका है और विश्व प्रसिद्ध जेम्स वेब टेलीस्कोप को L2 लैग्रेंज पॉइंट पर स्थापित किया गया है। L1 की पृथ्वी से सूर्य की दिशा में दूरी लगभग 15 लाख किलोमीटर है और इसे हम एस्ट्रोनॉमिकल यूनिट में 0.01 एस्ट्रोनॉमिकल यूनिट कह सकते हैं। यह पृथ्वी से सूरज की दूरी का केवल 1% है।
The vantage point for observing sun is a place in between the sun and earth where direct visibility exists to the sun while continuous communication link exists with the earth. These observations will generate a forewarning about disturbances in near-Earth space environment which could pose danger to the communication systems and spacecrafts. Various thermal and magnetic phenomena on the sun are of extreme nature, which cannot be replicated in labs. The best way is to observe the sun up close. The distance between the Earth and Sun is approximately 150 million kilometers. At the central region of the Sun, known as core, the temperature can reach as high as 15 million degrees Celsius. Power source for the Sun is nuclear fusion of hydrogen atoms that takes place in the core. The visible surface of Sun is relatively cool and has a temperature of about 5,500 degrees Celsius. The Aditya L1 spacecraft is planned to be placed in a halo orbit around the Lagrangian point 1 or L1 of the Sun-Earth system, which is about 1.5 million kilometers from Earth, roughly 1% of the distance to Sun. A halo orbit is a periodic 3-dimensional orbit near the Lagrange point in the 3-body problem of orbital mechanism. The object in this orbit stays in place by the gravity of Earth and Sun. It requires little energy for station keeping. Several probes have been placed in space to observe the Sun by various space agencies. Lagrange's point L1 is a great location for solar explorers such as Aditya L1, as it allows for an unobstructed view of the sun that is never eclipsed by Earth. At L1, Aditya L1 will join spacecraft such as ESA-NASA's Solar Heliospheric Observatory or SOHO, which has been at L1 since 1996.
लैग्रांज पॉइंट एक ऐसी जगह है अंतरिक्ष में जहां अगर कोई चीज पहुंचती है तो वह वहीं बनी रहती है, क्योंकि लैग्रांज पॉइंट पर दो बड़े द्रव्यमानों का गुरुत्वाकर्षण खिंचाव बराबर हो जाता है और इसमें एक अभिकेंद्रीय बल है कि जो कि पिंड को दोनों द्रव्यमान के साथ बनाए रखता है। ऐसे 5 लैग्रेंजियन पॉइंट्स होते हैं पृथ्वी और सूर्य के बीच। इन पॉइंट्स में अंतरिक्ष यान को भेजकर कम से कम ईंधन की खपत पर या उस स्थान पर अंतरिक्ष प्रयोगों को अध्ययन के लिए बनाए रखा जा सकता है। आदित्य L1 उपग्रह को भी ऐसे ही लैग्रांज पॉइंट 1 पर स्थापित किया जा रहा है। अंतरिक्ष यान को यहां तक पहुंचने में 125 दिन का समय लगेगा। इस लैग्रेंजियन पॉइंट्स के कुछ फायदे होते हैं, जैसे हम यहाँ आदित्य L1 के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं तो यह अंतरिक्ष यान लैग्रेंजियन पॉइंट 1 के पास जाएगा और यहाँ ऐसा पॉइंट है जहाँ से सूर्य को बिना किसी ग्रहण या रुकावट के निरंतर देखा जा सकेगा और अध्ययन किया जा सकेगा। दूसरा फायदा यह कि विभिन्न मापन या विश्लेषणों के लिए किसी भी तरह की रुकावट या कमी नहीं आएगी। वायु न होने की वजह से इससे दूर तक स्पष्ट देखा जा सकेगा। लैग्रेंज पॉइंट पर इस वेधशाला को रखने का मुख्य कारण यह भी है कि यहाँ उपग्रह लगभग स्थिर रहेगा और उपग्रह के अभिवृत्ति नियंत्रण के लिए अधिक ईंधन की आवश्यकता नहीं होगी। वर्तमान में PS4 चरण का कोस्टिंग फेज जारी है। अब यान की ऊंचाई 280 किलोमीटर तथा सापेक्ष गति 7.18 किलोमीटर प्रति सेकंड है। अब यह उचित अभिवृत्ति प्राप्त कर पुनः प्रज्वलित किया जाएगा।
Vehicle performance normal.
The Aditya L1 spacecraft carries 7 payloads to observe the protosphere, chromosphere, and corona, which is the outermost layer of the sun. These payloads use electromagnetic, particle, and magnetic field detectors. First among the 4 remote sensing payloads is Visible Emission Line Chronograph, VELC, which is a prime payload designed as a reflective coronagraph with a multi-slit spectrograph. This payload is developed jointly by Indian Institute of Astrophysics, Laboratory of Electro-Optical Systems, UR Rao Satellite Center, Isro Inertial Systems Unit, and Space Applications Center. The second payload is Solar Low Energy X-ray Spectrometer, or SOLEX, designed to measure the solar soft X-ray flux to study solar flares. This payload is developed by UR Rao Satellite Center. Third payload is the Solar Earth Ultraviolet Imaging Telescope, SUIT, which is a UV telescope to image the solar disk in the near ultraviolet wavelength range. The payload is developed by Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics, LEOS, URSC, and IISU. The fourth payload is High Energy L1 Orbiting X-ray Spectrometer, or HELIOS, developed by URSC. Is a hard X-ray spectrometer designed to study solar flares in high energy X-rays. The fifth payload is the one which is meant for in situ observations. This is Aditya Solar Wind Particle Experiment, or
an absolutely incredible picture-perfect textbook launch of the PSLV C57 rocket carrying India's first solar probe, the Aditya L1, into space. The first phase of that launch The first stage and that first phase has successfully been completed. We can confirm to you that everything has gone exactly like clockwork. As you heard in that ISRO commentary coming in live from the Satish Dhawan Space Center, everything went exactly as programmed and planned. That rocket is well on its way. The third stage of the propulsion system has kicked in, and in a short while from now, the Aditya L1 will be injected into a low Earth orbit. So that's the LEO is where the Aditya L1 will spend the next few days. It will take a few rounds around the Earth before using its propulsion system to slingshot itself towards the sun. 1.5 million kilometers distant is the Lagrange 1 point or L1 point. In a moment from now, apart from getting more details about the launch itself, we'll be hearing from Dr. Somnath, the ISRO chairman, as well as the project director of mission Aditya L1. So we're standing by on that press conference. India Today's reporters are on the ground. I'm coming in live now because that commentary has just ended at the ISRO. So we're going to give you an update on what's happening. We understand that at the command center, the viewing gallery, Dr. Somnath and the others will be live. They will be addressing the nation in just a few moments from now. They're collecting all that initial data. Remember, these are rocket scientists. They've got a very, very busy time, but they will make time to address the country and provide more details about what you've seen play out live here. What a time to be alive. India's first solar probe, Sneha, going into space now. Everything as expected, beautifully playing out.
That's right. And I think what's really music to everybody's ears, Shiv, is the fact that we keep on hearing from the ISRO commentary that performance is normal. I think that is what everybody is obviously going to be worried about, because it isn't easy. And this is, in fact, we'll just talk about that in a moment from now. I'm going to put this report out by our colleague Pramod Madhav, who's in fact on ground zero. Let's take a look.
There it is. The rocket has been lit up and it goes up. It's soaring up. That is PSLV C57 right in front of our eyes. That's the rocket carrying Aditya L1. This is an amazing moment because recently ISRO scientifically conquered the moon as well. On the far side, ISRO, the Pragyan rover, as we speak, is investigating, and there we have been told that the liftoff is normal and the rocket has lifted off. It's soaring up to the sky with Aditya L1, which has 7 payloads. And the satellite's important aspect is that it is going to study about the sun. What you're hearing right now is a rumble from the rocket because sound travels lesser than the speed of light. That's what you see currently. That is a rumble as the rocket soars up, breaking the escape velocity that is 11.2 kilometers per second. And as we see, that's the rocket that has gone up in the sky. And this is a very important part because now Aditya L1, after 4 months, it will reach a point called as Lagrange point. There it will be stationed in a halo orbit. And this is something called as a 3-point problem, where now ISRO scientists have created solved the equation where they have to take care of three objects: the sun, the earth, and the satellite. And Lagrange 1 point is some point where the gravitational force of the sun and the gravitational force of the earth will meet in a point where which if you put an object, it can rotate stationary. This is a calculation. This is purely calculation based. And right now, PSLV C57 has lifted off with Aditya L1 as we speak and soaring up to the sky. And like the Aditya L1 is a very important satellite. It's carrying 7 payloads, and we are going to learn about how the sun's surface is acting, the corona, the chronosphere, the photosphere. Because on the sun's surface, yes, we all know that the sun is the one that is powering life on Earth and it is governing this entire solar system. But how the solar flare and everything works is something we need to learn, because this is a kind of like a solar storm or solar flare, but nothing but a sudden gush of energy that leaves the sun's surface and it impacts every planet, including Earth. All this will be clearly studied, recorded, and the data will be provided for ISRO for studying. Zibyan, Pramod Madhav for India Today.
Aditya L1
L1 has taken to the skies. You can see it going right up there. Fair skies, Aditya L1. This is going to be a long, long journey for him. The longest also for the PSLV C57, which is why you're going to be seeing him in different faces for the next 63 minutes. Look at that roar. What a beautiful sound. I've got goosebumps listening to it right here. But that here, the roar that I'm hearing, that's the power of the PSLV C57 roaring through the skies, making its way up into the planet, in fact, the skies. For the next 4 months, Aditya L1 is going to continue his journey. And Isro putting out commands right now. I can hear it faintly on the side that everything is going normally. You can see that, in fact, PSLV and Aditya L1, with Aditya L1 inside, has now taken a turn, moving towards, higher and higher away from me. I can tell you that there was a point when I could hear it so clearly, that roar of the rocket. It's surreal, to say the least. But that right there is a successful launch. Another feather in the cap for our Isro heroes.
Magnetometer, joining us today for a 25-minute fireside chat on the sidelines of Aditya L1 launch. To start with the principal scientist and PI of SolX, Dr. Sankara Subramaniam, why is Aditya L1 mission so important and what are the objectives of this mission?
Thanks a lot. I mean, first of all, let me thank ISRO as well as the Government of India for providing a great opportunity for the solar and heliophysics community of the country. Both solar, heliophysics, as well as astronomy thrives on data. More the data you have, we get more understanding about the system. And Sun is our own star, our dearmost star. So understanding them is much more important for our everyday life. So this mission, Aditya, when it was conceived initially, with a support from our Professor U.R. Rao, along with Dr. Srikumar and Professor G. Srinivasan, we made sure that we will have a unique data set which is not available from any other missions internationally. So the 7 payloads, what was conceived for this particular mission, will provide a unique set of data which is currently not available from any other missions, which will provide us new insight into the solar and heliophysics community in India and provides some important aspects like the initiation of the coronal mass ejections, the speed at which it gets initiated, and some wave bands which are very important for the Earth ionospheric connections like near ultraviolet band, and the high energy particles, which is high energy radiations as well as particles which is coming from the solar flares and coronal mass ejections. So these are the informations which would be available from this particular mission, which will allow us to understand the sun, its dynamics, as well as the inner heliosphere, which is an important element for the current day technology, as well as the space weather aspects of it.
Thank you so much for your remarks, sir. So now we move on to Dr. Anil Bharadwaj. So the sun is a very important energy source of life. Having understood that, it creates a trouble when it's angry. How does Aditya L1 helps us through the mission?
Thank you and good morning, viewers. First of all, let me tell you that Aditya L1 is a multi-wavelength, multi-instrument, and multi-directional mission. Multi-wavelength because it works in X-rays, UV, and visible. Multi-instrument because there are 7 experiments on board. And multi-directional because it looks not only in the sun direction, but also around it. Now, when the sun becomes angry, there are 2 types of process which happens. One is solar flares, that means electromagnetic radiation, which reaches the Earth in 8 minutes. But along with that, there is a mass which is also ejected out in form of plasma, and that can take about 2 to 4 days to reach the Earth. What we are looking for from the Aditya L1 mission is to see the impact of solar flares as well as coronal mass ejections as they come to the Earth. We have instruments which look at not only in the sun direction, but also in other directions, for example, perpendicular to ecliptic or in the Earth directions. The impact is that we need to see when the sun becomes quite angry, what are the ways in which it is affecting the planet Earth, and L1 point being at point L1, which is just 1% away from the Earth, it is able to provide us a lot of new informations of the plasma and the electromagnetic radiations which is reaching the planet Earth.
Thank you so much, sir. So now we'll move on to Dr. Annapurni Subramaniam. So the science behind this mission is very unique. So what's the impact of this on the Earth and also on the heliosphere?
Yeah, so thank you for having me on this show. To put the thing in context, I'm the director of Indian Institute of Astrophysics, and we have delivered one of the major payloads on this mission. This is the visible emission line coronagraph. So if you actually look at the words used in it, it is visible because it is seeing the sun and the visible wavelength. Emission line, so what is it detecting? It is the emission line of certain elements. Because the corona is hot, the emission which you get is in the terms of, it's not absorbing the light which is coming from the sun, but it's already hot, so it is coming down by emitting lines. So we are tracking these lines using what? A coronagraph. Now, what's a coronagraph? This instrument makes a total solar eclipse all the time within the instrument. So you are looking at the sun all the time, 24/7, through using this mission. And this instrument looks at the sun as though it is always in total solar eclipse. Now, why you want to have the eclipse all the time? Because you want to see the corona. Why corona? Because when sun burps, when sun is angry, the corona is what it takes the matter away. Now, what is unique about this instrument? This is going to see the corona as close as possible from the disk of the sun. Now, what is so challenging about it? It is because the sun's corona is 1,000,000 times fainter than the disk of the sun. So you have to not see the disk of the sun, but see only the corona. So this instrument is very difficult to make, challenging, but it is made. Now it's going to the orbit. Now what we're planning to study using this instrument is the corona, its dynamics. Through this emission line, you can actually measure the velocity by simple physics called Doppler effect. So you can measure the velocity, you can measure how much matter is moving, and eventually how that matter will come to the Earth and the heliosphere. So it's overall this instrument, along with the others, of course, the other PI will also be explaining about it. So these holistically will give you a lot of information regarding not only the sun, but also the heliosphere. Thank you.
That was very interesting, Doctor. Thank you very much. And now we'll move on to Durgesh Tripathi, Dr. Durgesh Tripathi. You are the PI of the for the payload suit. How is that different from other telescopes like Hubble or James Webb? And what are you going to investigate using this?
Yeah, so good afternoon. My voice is going to mumble because I'm still in the awe of the launch and one of the payload is gone there. So essentially, JWST, which is James Webb Telescope, and the Hubble Telescope, they are going to look at the universe, different objects, galaxies, star formation, and other objects you see in the universe. Whereas when we talk about Aditya L1, it is going to look at one particular object, which is our sun. And it's also kept on the other side of the Sun-Earth line at the L1 point, whereas the James Webb Telescope went on the other side of the Earth, which is at the L2 point. Now, the scientific difference, of course, they also observe in ultraviolet, but Aditya, as Professor Anil Bharadwaj and also Professor Annapurni Subramaniam alluded to, these are multi-wavelength satellite, and they will be observing all across the electromagnetic spectrum. In particular, SOOT is going to be looking at the ultraviolet radiation in 2000 to 4000 angstrom, if that matters to you, emits from the lower and the middle atmosphere of the sun. And what we want to look at that how in general the sun's atmosphere is coupled by looking at the observations at various height, and how actually this radiation is coming and getting absorbed in the Earth's atmosphere, and what kind of effect it can have in the chemistry of ozone and oxygen, for example, and also these explosions which are happening, how much radiation they are creating, and how much effect it might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And now we move on to Dr. Satish Thampi. You are connected with the payload PAPA. Already the plasma particles on the moon are analyzed. How do you analyze plasma particles in the sun? And what is the importance of solar winds, and how does it impact?
Thank you. Thank you for giving opportunity to come into this show. As my colleagues, they mentioned actually about the sun. Today we have the auspicious day where actually we are going to our own star, that is the sun. just I want to tell to the viewers that actually the sun, which is our hero, basically in the solar system. If you look into the mass of the solar system, 99% of the mass of the solar system is occupied by sun. And also this sun is plasma. Now, when we are talking about the heliosphere, actually with this, all our planets are engulfed in that thing. We have been studying in decades, maybe in centuries, we have been studying about the sun. But what we are lacking actually a comprehensive approach, because sun is giving its energy mainly in three forms. The first one is the radiation, actually my colleagues already talked about, which we can do remotely from our ground. But the plasma, basically we are talking about the solar, what we call the space plasma, as well as the magnetic field. This can be only studied by in situ. If we study all these radiation, particles and field, then only we'll get a full comprehensive understanding of the sun. Now, we are getting the first space-based observatory from the Indian soil, and we are making this opportunity. And of course, I am thankful to ISRO and all my colleagues and my teammates from SDSC and all my scientific colleagues here. This is the opportunity we got. Actually, we are trying to understand actually all the three things: radiation, particles, and field. Already they mentioned about the radiation. Now, Dr. Bivin will be talking about field. Just I want to emphasize on the particles. That's why we named it as PAPA. PAPA means Plasma Analyzer Package for Aditya. This is developed by Space Physics Laboratory in support of Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. And now this instrument has two components. If you look at the solar wind, basically it comprises of 95% protons, then alpha particles roughly around 4 to 5%, then equal number of electrons also. So our PAPA is a comprehensive package measuring both ions and the electrons. Now these electrons, like already our colleagues, they mentioned actually the major transition events like coronal mass ejection. That's a huge mass which is coming out of sun. Basically it's a plasma. Basically, when we are talking about solar and basically nothing but it's the extension of the corona only. That must have. Now, these particles actually, they only actually modulate the energy and momentum of the planetary atmospheres. See, when the sun is quiet, like it is not aggressive, sun is what we are getting the ambient solar wind. So if you look into that thing, actually, that one actually gives what we call about the interactions, what we call the normal routine phenomenon which is happening on there. But when there is sun is angry, so it gives like in a CME, CAR, or these sort of events are happening, that is really going to affect our planets. That's what we call the space weather. Now, our intention is to understand, first of all, actually what these effects, basically the solar wind, in the ambient condition, as well as during this transition events, how this solar wind behaves, and also how this coronal mass ejections, which is passing through different planets, how actually, what are the different things, like what we call about the microphysics, macrophysics, and the mesophysics of that things, that we want to understand. So one thing is actually, it's a physics subjective to understand, because we are getting an ideal point, Lagrangian point, which is in the Sun-Earth plane, and we'll be seeing the events exactly there. Second thing is actually, we can definitely monitor the parameters. Like what Papa will measure the electrons and ions, we will be getting energy, direction, and angular information, mass information. So if we know these things related to electrons, we don't want the mass, but for the ions, we are getting the mass information. Coupling all this information, actually, what we can do is we can derive the plasma moments. That will be definitely going to the modeling part, actually dynamics part, and that will definitely going to tell about the effect of the space weather effects.
Yes.
So in due course, actually, with the L1, in addition to other L5 missions, we'll be able to tell. This is the importance of the plasma missions.
Yes.
That actually, as you mentioned, actually earlier with the lunar mission, we tried to understand that thing. Really, it changed this plasma studies, changed the perspective of the moon. Now, Aditya will give more detail about it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for that, sir. And now we move on to Dr. Dipankar Banerjee. So you manage the beautiful solar observatory at Nainital. How do you think the studies of heliophysics will supplement Aditya L1? Can you tell us something about the history of solar observatories in India?
That's right. India has a long tradition of looking at the sun from the ground. In fact, from Kodaikanal Observatory, we have been observing the sun for more than 100 years. And also we have beautiful, solar observatory at Udaipur, in the lakeside, and at Nainital. We are looking at the sun. But there are limitations of looking at the sun from the ground because you can only see the lower atmosphere of the sun. So this was very, very important that we could go to the space. And this is a fantastic opportunity. Originally, more than 10 years back, we were only looking at a small satellite program. And then Professor U.R. Rao suddenly came up with this idea, why are we taking baby steps? We should think big. We should go to much longer distance. And then this opportunity came in, the Lagrangian 1 mission. The entire country, all the scientific institution got very much highly motivated. There are multiple payloads were then proposed. So eventually now we have a Lagrangian 1 observatory class mission. And as you heard from my colleagues, that it is a multi-wavelength observatory. So that's very important to have the shorter wavelength coverage from the space. And in addition, the ground-based observations are also important. So a combination of the ground-based telescope and the space-based platform is very, very important. And since you asked about the question about the, how Aditya in the overall heliophysics research within the international scenario, we only have 3 spacecraft around Lagrangian 1 point primarily from NASA and ESA. So I think, again, this is a fantastic achievement from India. If you could reach L1 with the full observatory class mission, it will really open a new window altogether. So I think this is a great opportunity, and we are all looking forward. And as I mentioned, probably we'll request that, a better ground-based facility. We have already projected a National Large Solar Telescope project from the ground. I think this is now high time we have a very nice ground-based telescope also to complement the capabilities of Aditya L1.
Thank you very much, sir. Indeed, it's a very great opportunity. And now we move on to Dr. Vipin K. Yadav. So you're in charge of the magnetometer. What is the contribution of magnetometer to Aditya program?
You see, the magnetic field measurements are very crucial in space, and especially at L1 point. What we are going to measure with magnetometer is the interplanetary magnetic field that is coming all the way from Sun and towards the Earth. So typically these values at L1 point are around 5 to 10 nanotesla. But these values increases whenever there is an extreme solar event, such as the coronal mass ejection or say solar magnetic storms. Now these events are crucial to monitor the near Earth space weather, because these can have an effect on the life on Earth. If you remember Quebec, there was an event when the power lines were snapped a few years ago. That was because of an extreme solar event. So to keep an eye on the surroundings of Earth, we need these measurements. And apart from that, for solar wind observations also, these measurements will be crucial. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So now we move on to Dr. Anuj Nandi. So what is the importance of solar flares and the impact in heliospheres? And how does Aditya L1 contribute to all of this?
Good afternoon, viewers. As my colleagues already pointed out the importance of this mission and the instruments about. So the thing is, as you know, that solar flares are the energetic and explosive energy release in few seconds to minutes time scale. And it is order of 10 to 27 arcs to 10 to 32 arcs. Now the thing is, these solar flares, why it is important as because the solar flares actually tells the dynamics and activity in the sun. So the thing is, there are 2 unique instruments built by URAO Satellite Center that is going to cover the solar flares from 1 kV to extremely high energy, around 200 kV. And we know that visible sun is only 6000 degree Kelvin temperature, whereas the outer surface of the sun is million degree Kelvin. So the thing is, why there is disparity? So I think these 2 instruments, along with the other 2 instruments, VLC and SOOT, we are going to address this $1 million questions as well as why there is difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And now I'd like to go back to Dr. Anil Bharadwaj. So there are many satellites that are sent to the space by other nations. So what makes Aditya L1 different from these satellites?
Well, that's a very good question, because first of all, let me again tell you that India will be the third, or Isro will be the third space agency to have a mission at L1 point. And I just mentioned that it is multi-wavelength, multi-instrument, and multi-direction, and it measures particle, field, and radiations. So you don't have such kind of satellites existing at L1 point so far and currently. That makes Aditya L1 absolutely unique, because we are going to measure remotely, in situ, and particles and fields. I was also mentioning about multi-direction, and that is coming from the ASPEX payload, which stands for Aditya Solar and Particle Experiments. And this is going to measure particles ranging from 100 EVs going to several MeVs, which is essential for us to know, because when the CMEs are happening or the sun is quite angry, the plasma which is coming out from the sun ranges from several EVs to several MeVs. And therefore, we should know in what direction the plasma is coming and whether the plasma is getting accelerated in between when it comes from sun towards Earth. And therefore, there is a multi-directional information which is available from the Aspects payload, because it consists of two sensors, SWIS and STEP, essentially giving you in two different energy bands, and therefore we'll be able to quantify the CME, CIRs, and all the processes which is happening on the sun, which gives out coronal mass ejections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your remarks. And now finally, we move on to the principal scientist, Dr. Sankar Subramaniam. So how does the Indian science community seek to capitalize on ISRO's space capabilities, especially these observatory missions like AstroSat and Aditya L1?
Yeah. So now ISRO has established that it has a capability to send observatory class missions anywhere in the interplanetary medium. ISRO also is developing capability for small satellite missions like a nanosat, CubeSat, as well as the small satellite capability. That is something which especially a heliophysics community could utilize it, because we can, at a low cost, we can launch many more such instruments which are essential for heliophysics community here in India. So, and also the bigger mission takes its own life cycle, because it requires technologies to be developed for a bigger missions. So in between these big missions, if we capitalize on these small satellite missions, and that will enhances the science capability of our country to the next level. And as you know, the science and technologies are always synergized. As the technology improves, your science improves. When I started my career in solar physics, I started with a photospheric magnetic field. Now we are in a position where we can do coronal magnetic field with Aditya L1, which was not feasible when I was doing my PhD. So similarly, as we move on and as the technology starts to improve, we would be able to generate much more capable instruments, much more compact instruments, which will enable us to do much more science than what we can currently do. So we look forward to capitalize on ISRO's capabilities, both at the large scale as well as at the small scale instruments, and also its capability for developing new technologies in the near future.
Thank you very much, sir. That was very interesting. And to end this, I have a last question to Dr. Dipankar Banerjee. And it's about what kinds of outreach is possible through this launch to energize the scientific community?
This is a very, very important question. And we are proud to be Indian now after the Chandrayaan success. I think it's just not the students, it's the entire country is excited. And we got this opportunity to now travel towards Sun. So it is very important that the younger generation, comes into the research and also utilizes the data. These scientific missions are for the community, and it has to be the community driven. So some of our scientists, who have been engaged with this mission for decades, we understand what is expected to be, this data. But the younger generation, they need to be trained. And so for that reason, we also have a Aditya support cell at Nainital, and we are going around in the country. We are regularly conducting workshops. So through these workshops and training program, we really want to reach out to other, people who are particularly in the universities or IITs, because they have so far not been directly involved with the Aditya mission. So I think we are really, really going out, and we expect that the youngsters, that the next generation will come and utilize this data, because the data is for the community. So unless, we have more users, we will not be able to effectively utilize the data, scientific data, which is coming, and the way we can help the community at large. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
I think it is very important for us also to reach out to schools and colleges, because the younger generation should be told about this kind of activities which is happening in the country. Chandrayaan 3 launch has galvanized the whole nation, and everybody is interested to know what all is happening in the science and technology within the country. And therefore, this mission, along with the Chandrayaan 3 mission, that is the Aditya L1 mission and Chandrayaan 3 mission, is going to give us a lot of new information, which is going to be very beneficial for the country. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for participating in this discussion. And now we move on to the control room.
Thank you, Srinidhi. And I thank all the panelists for enlightening us about the high-tech science that
We're
Aditya
getting in all
L1
the details
is
in the
about.
control room and the viewing gallery that you see on your screens right now. A lot of details are coming in that give us a sense of hope and optimism as far as this mission to the sun is concerned. I'm going to go across to my colleagues also. Akshata is in fact at the viewing gallery, I think. I'm just going to check on that. In fact, Pramod Madhav also continues to be with us. All right, going to promote in a moment from now, but Akshata is there, all smiles. Akshata, this is something that we've been talking about, and we mentioned this earlier as well, that each time there is an announcement from ISRO, from the viewing gallery, that things are going fine, the performance is normal. It's really music to our ears. This isn't an easy mission, but what really makes it all the more special is the very fact that it's actually a woman who has headed this entire mission. Akshata?
Very, very true, Sneha. And my apologies for not being with you earlier. But because of the launch, they'd shut down all of our mobile phones. They'd shut down all of our live systems. So we were struggling to really join you live. I just want to first talk about the launch itself, if that's okay. It was a surreal moment for me. It's the first time I was here in Sriharikota witnessing a launch live. And it was amazing to say the least, because, you can hear the sound of the rocket. The ground is literally shaking, vibrating because of the impact with which that rocket really takes off. I'm standing right now right outside the media center. This is still within the ISRO complex, and in 63 minutes, that is since 11:50, that's when you will see the entire launch procedure ending. This is the longest launch by PSLV, so you can imagine how much work is still going on. We're expecting the ISRO chief, Dr. Somnath, Union Minister Jitendra Singh, the entire team, including the project director, the woman project director you're referring to, Nisar Shaji. She's also going to be here. They're all going to be making their way in for a press conference. We're hoping to catch them here first, to have a conversation with them, personally congratulate them on behalf of all of our viewers on India Today. Textbook launch as expected, Sneha, but the reason that you don't immediately see the press conference, usually in a matter of minutes, they will be here at the media center speaking to and interacting with the reporters. That's because 63 minutes, they're waiting for that time to end. So about 12:53 is when, in fact, the entire launch procedure actually ends. So this is a long, long one. We'll have to wait for a few more minutes. I know we're all getting extremely impatient for that declaration to come in. Few more minutes, and you will see all phases being completed. And exactly at 12:53 is when they will announce that the launch has been successful. And then, of course, it's a longer wait of 4 months as well. You were talking about the project director. What's remarkable about each of these missions, whether it's Chandrayaan 3, in which case you had amazing stories of these scientists, how they come from such humble roots, such simplistic backdrops, and then go on to achieve so much for the nation. For Nisar Shaji, it's a similar story. She's from Tamil Nadu, and as someone who lost her father very young, she lost her father about 30 years ago. From there to today, the way she's built her life and the way she's dedicated her life to ensuring that the name of ISRO, the name of India, shines bright is truly inspiring. And I think we keep saying this, Neha, you and me particularly as women, we relate a lot more to these women scientists. We relate a lot more to their inspiring story. And every single time, clicks, images, stories of theirs goes viral for one particular reason, because they're so relatable, and their humility really shines through. For example, if Nisar Shaji comes here and I manage to catch her, there's not going to be any airs, there's not going to be any tantrums. She will very humbly speak to you, answer all of your questions, because that, shows you where they're really from. They're so very rooted, and yet at the same time work so hard in ensuring each of these missions are a success, and thereby, bring glory and happiness for each one of us. So each of their stories, I believe, really, truly needs to be celebrated. But yes, a special place in my heart, no doubt, for our women ISRO scientists.
Absolutely, Akshata. In fact, we've been waiting to get a glimpse of her, at least in the viewing gallery, and you said that she is, in fact, around. We also, in fact, are waiting and on standby, really, to get a word from the ISRO chief, Professor Somnath, and what he has to say about the initial few minutes when the launch happened. Coming back to you in a moment from now, Akshata, in fact, we are going to once again dip into what ISRO, in fact, is saying as far as this particular mission is concerned. At 12:53 is what Akshata is telling us is going to be a conclusion of sorts. So let's just listen in first.
से दूर हो जाता है इस कालावधि में ग्राउंड स्टेशन की दृष्टि से बाहर जा चुका होता है और यान के ऑन बोर्ड कंप्यूटर पर टेलीमेट्री स्टोरेज पर यान के महत्वपूर्ण आंकड़े सेव किए जाते हैं। जब यह हमारे तय ग्राउंड स्टेशन की रेंज में आते हैं तब इन आंकड़ों का प्रसारण होता है और वहां से इनकी पुष्टि की जाती है कि यान इस दौरान किन गतिविधियों से गुजरा।
Fourth stage performance normal.
The fourth stage performing normally. The second burn is expected to last for 472 seconds.
यह चतुर्थ चरण है PSLV XL रॉकेट का। इसमें 2.5 टन के नोदक का इस्तेमाल हो रहा है। यह तरल नोदक है। इसमें 2 इंजन लगे होते हैं। हर एक 7.33 किलो न्यूटन का प्रणोद उत्पन्न करता है। इस तरह कुल प्रणोद 14.6 किलो न्यूटन का होता है।
Plus 55 minutes.
इस प्रज्वलन काल में इसे 472 सेकंड तक प्रज्वलित रखा जाएगा। वरिष्ठ गणमान्य व्यक्ति यहाँ उपस्थित हैं।
We are close to 55 minutes 30 seconds past the launch. PS4 stage currently burning for the second time.
Fourth stage performance normal.
Intended trajectory closely matching the prediction. Presently, the shipborne terminal is acquiring the signal. Few seconds later, there will be another no visibility phase before Koru starts to acquire signal.
जी अभी द्वितीय बर्न चालू है PS4 स्टेज का। अभी कुछ 200 और सेकंड जलकर यह शांत हो जाएगा। सूर्य एक बड़ा।
क्या आप ये पानी पीना चाहेंगे?
नहीं।
इसीलिए आपने लिव प्योर आरओ की सुरक्षा चक्र में इन्वेस्ट करने का स्मार्ट डिसीजन लिया था। अब इसको आजीवन बनाए रखें लिव प्योर एक्सपर्ट सर्विस के साथ। अपने फोन से QR कोड स्कैन करें और 100% जेन्युइन पार्ट्स का भरोसा भी पाएं। तुरंत कॉल करें।
लिव प्योर सुरक्षा चक्र अपनाओ, आजीवन प्योरिटी और सेफ्टी पाओ।
Approximately 205 seconds. During this non-visibility period, ground trace and flight parameters will not be updated.
अब यान फिर से अंतर्दृष्टि हो चुका है, हमारे ट्रैकिंग रेंज से बाहर है। अगला ट्रैकिंग स्टेशन कुरु स्थित फ्रेंच गयाना स्थित कुरु स्टेशन से हमें आंकड़े उपलब्ध होंगे कुछ ही समय में।
After being injected into the space, the Aditya L1 will not travel directly to the L1 point. Transfer maneuvers will be performed to position the spacecraft in a halo orbit. Aditya L1 will first be made to perform maneuvers in Earth orbit. Adjustments will be made in its orbital parameters. After ascertaining the normalcy of the craft, its systems, payloads, and the orbital parameters, burn to exit Earth's sphere of influence will be initiated. After exit from SOI, the cruise phase will start and subsequently The spacecraft will be injected into a large halo orbit along L1. The total travel time from launch to L1 will take about 4 months for Aditya L1.
इस दौरान आइए आपको अवगत करा दें आदित्य L1 के मुख्य उद्देश्य से। आदित्य L1 मिशन का मुख्य उद्देश्य है सौर गतिविधियों के विभिन्न पहलुओं में महत्वपूर्ण जानकारियां उपलब्ध कराना और इन गतिविधियों का अंतरिक्ष मौसम के असर का अध्ययन करना। इस कार्य के लिए इसमें 7 भार लगे हुए हैं, जिनकी मदद से आदित्य L1 फोटोस्फीयर, क्रोमोस्फीयर और सूर्य के बाहरी परत के विभिन्न वेवलेंथ में प्रेक्षण कर सकेगा। विशेष वैज्ञानिक उद्देश्य इस प्रकार हैं: सूर्य के ऊपरी परत, जिसे हम कोरोना के नाम से जानते हैं, इसकी गतिकी का अध्ययन करना, क्रोमोस्फीयर और कोरोनल तापमान, आंशिक रूप से आयनिक प्लाज्मा की भौतिकी, कोरोनल मास इजेक्शन की शुरुआत और फ्लेयर्स का अध्ययन, सूर्य के कण की गतिशीलता के अध्ययन के लिए आंकड़े प्रदान करना और यथास्थिति कण और प्लाज्मा वातावरण के प्रेक्षण करना।
+1 hour.
वर्तमान में आरओडी ने घोषणा की अब चतुर्थ चरण को बंद कर दिया गया है, उसका थ्रस्ट कट ऑफ कर दिया गया है और वह बंद हो चुका है और इसकी भी पुष्टि हो चुकी है कि आदित्य L1 के अंतक्षेपण की स्थितियां प्राप्त की जा चुकी हैं।
We are now eagerly awaiting the injection of the satellite, as we have the confirmation from the Range Operations Director that the thrust cutoff for 4th stage of PSLV has been achieved. We are 1 hour into the flight.
कुछ ही क्षणों में क्रूज स्थित ग्राउंड स्टेशन से इसकी पुष्टि की जाएगी।
Highly anticipated event next is the separation event of Aditya L1 spacecraft.
यान अपने निर्धारित कक्षा की ओर कुछ ही क्षणों में इसकी पुष्टि होनी बाकी है। यान से अंतरिक्ष यान आदित्य L1 का सफलतापूर्ण अंतक्षेपण अभी बाकी है।
For Aditya L1, Isro has developed advanced flight dynamic software to obtain past trajectory data from tracking, apply mathematical computation to calculate present and future location of the spacecraft in a process known as orbit determination. But the correct orbital parameters at the time of injection are of prime importance.
अब तक कुल 22 सौर मिशनों को नासा, ईसा, जर्मन
Aditya L1 satellite separated.
और जिसका इंतजार था वह पल आ चुका है। इसकी पुष्टि कर दी गई है। आदित्य L1
Aditya L1 mission accomplished. Handing over to mission director.
And we have a confirmation of Aditya L1 separation. The mission has been accomplished.
John.
PSLV C57 has injected Aditya L1 satellite into the desired intermediate orbit. PSLV C57 Aditya L1 mission is accomplished.
आदित्य L1 को पूर्ण परिशुद्धता से इसके निर्धारित कक्षा में स्थापित कर दिया गया है। इसके बाद वह अपने आगे की सफर जारी रखेगा L1 पॉइंट के लिए।
Do join us for the address by Chairman ISRO Secretary Department of Space, Shri S. Somnath.
सभी दर्शकों को शुभकामनाएं और बधाइयां इस मिशन की सफलता के लिए। अब हम आपको लिए चलते हैं अध्यक्ष महोदय के एड्रेसिंग के लिए।
It's a big story we are breaking at this mission accomplished. Truly golden words that we hear from ISRO right now. With that confirmation coming in from ISRO and the ISRO chief, all
the Aditya L1 spacecraft has been injected in an elliptical orbit of 235 by 19,500 kilometers, which is intended very precisely by the PSLV. Very unique mission mode here, with the upper stage of the PSLV taking two burn sequence for injecting the primary satellite for the first time. So I want to congratulate PSLV for such a very different mission approach today to do this mission of Aditya L1 to put it in the right orbit. Now, from now, the Aditya L1 will take its journey after some Earth maneuvers. It will start its journey to the L1 point, a very long journey of almost 125 days. So let us wish all the very best to Aditya spacecraft for its long journey and being put around the halo orbit of L1. So with me, the mission executives are there. Mr. Biju, the mission director, and Nigar Shaji, the director of the satellite project. So let them join me. Our Honorable Minister of State for Science, Technology and Space is here, Dr. Jitendra Singh. So I request him to speak a few words.
You have to be there. Congratulations, India. Congratulations, ISRO. And while the whole world watched this with bated breath, it is indeed a sunshine moment for India. Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, for making this happen by opening up new vistas for India's space sector and telling us that sky is not the limit. Thanks also, Honorable PM, for giving us the confidence, the courage, and the conviction to reach out to the stars and to discover the mysteries of universe beyond. And thanks also for making us realize the enormous potential of our space fraternity. Ladies and gentlemen, Indian scientists had been working, toiling day and night for years and years together, but now comes the moment of vindication, the moment of redeeming the pledge to the nation. And coming close on the heels of successful Chandrayaan 3 landing, the successful launch of Aditya L1 is also a testimony to the whole of science and a whole of nation approach which we have sought to adopt in our work culture. While ISRO is credited in executing this mission, the science institutes across the country have come forward to contribute in one form or the other, in small measure or big, to this mission. To name a few, the Indian Institute of Astrophysics, Bengaluru, the National Aerospace Laboratories, the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Mumbai, the Nijri NGRI, Nagpur, the IIT Kharagpur, IIT Madras, IIT Delhi, IIT Mumbai, and the list is too long. But that, having said that, gives me the confidence to say that this day, the 2nd of September 2023, is a day of reckoning when we move on into the next 25 years of Amrit Kal, and Mother India pledges with the collective will and collective effort of our 140 crore children to reach and occupy the place of pride on the world pedestal. Congratulations once again, Chairman Somanath, the entire Isro team, and the entire countrymen.
Thank you. May I request the project director of Aditya L1, Nigar Shaji, to say a few words.
Good afternoon. It's a dream come true for Team Aditya L1, and I'm extremely happy that Aditya L1 is injected in the intended orbit flawlessly by PSLV as always. And Aditya L1 solar panels are deployed, and the spacecraft to be normal. And Aditya L1 has started its 125 days of long journey towards L1. We have our Earth burns to rise the orbit, and followed by the trans L1 injection, and finally insertion into the halo orbit in the Sun-Earth Lagrange point L1. Once the Aditya is commissioned, it will be an asset to the heliophysics of the country and even to the global scientific fraternity. And I take this opportunity to thank Chairman Isro, Director URSC, former Director URSC, and all the center directors for their support and guidance for making this mission possible. And my thanks are due to my project team and all the project executives across the center, payload teams, especially the teams from the IAA and IUCA, for the relentless effort in building the payload as well as the spacecraft. And my special thanks to the expert committee who have been guiding all through the entire project life cycle. And I thank all the industrial partners and the entire URSC team for their invaluable contribution. And I feel really honored and privileged to be part of this mission. And at this juncture, I would like to remember Professor U.R. Rao, who sowed the seed for this mission, and looking forward for a successful halo orbit insertion and further great science output from the Aditya L1 mission. Thank you all.
Sri Biju, the mission director and the project director of PSLV.
Good afternoon to all. My big salute to all of you for achieving this wonderful mission of Aditya. We have injected Aditya in its intermediate orbit. PSLV in its 59th mission has successfully accomplished injecting Aditya L1 in its intermediate orbit. It's all because of the dedicated effort of all of you. The challenging requirements given by satellite team was indeed very it was very challenging to meet the orbital requirements. We have gone for a new mission design strategy. We have gone through numerous simulations to validate this, and that is the proof that you are having now. I take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for achieving this wonderful mission. I take this opportunity to thank all my review forums, chairman and members of all review forums, and our industry partners for giving high reliable systems for PSLV and all our family members. With this, our capability of PSLV has increased manifold to venture into new missions, to new and challenging missions. I take this opportunity to thank my project team led by our Sri MJ Lal, as well as Damodaran, Vehicle Director and Associate Vehicle Director, in leading the entire campaign. I wish our satellite team an excellent time ahead for completing all the operations and completing all scientific objectives they have envisaged. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for spending your time watching this mission. And also supporting us and congratulating us, and we joined the entire country. We are very proud of the fact that we could do this mission, Aditya L1 mission, just following the Chandrayaan 3 activities, and all of you are aware that the lander and the rover are still functioning, and our team is with the scientific instruments doing a lot of work now. And the good news is that the rover has moved almost 100 meters from the lander. And we are going to start the process of making both of them sleep in the coming 1 or 2 days, because it has to withstand the night. So until we hear about them later, so I would like to say big thanks to each one of you for the support and encouragement and blessings that you are giving to us for continuing the work of building the very strong space infrastructure and capability for India, and which will be becoming one of the strong pillars of science and technology for this nation. And thank you so much for the contributions once again, and wish you all the best for meeting you for next mission from Satish Dhawan Space Center. Thank you.
Yes, starting now.
All right, Prime Minister Modi also, in fact, hailing our heroes at ISRO. The Prime Minister has also spoken about it. Congratulations to our scientists, is what the Prime Minister says, and engineers at ISRO for the successful launch of India's first solar mission, Aditya L1. This is a tireless effort, is what the Prime Minister says. Akshata, it indeed is. And what's beautiful about all of this really is the momentum and the manner in which ISRO and the scientists really involved in the last 2 missions have just managed to get just the love and the attention of the entire nation, isn't it?
I've said this time and again, Sneha, but I'm going to repeat it, that for a change today, on a day when you have an India-Pakistan match, you still have everyone talking about space. So space has reached the same level as sport right now in India. It's created this frenzy, it's created this craze, and we're absolutely loving it because, there couldn't be better recognition of our ISRO heroes, of our scientists. I'm glad that Dr. Somnath also in this briefing there a few moments ago also gave us a very crucial update on Chandrayaan 3, saying that rover Pragyan has moved about 100 meters away from the lander. And he says they'll go to sleep now for some time because night is going to hit. The 14 days is almost up. But coming back to Aditya L1, Sneha, it's a long journey. And you heard that from Dr. Somnath. You heard that from the project director, also from Ms. Shaji. All of them highlighted this, that it's going to take about 120 to 125 days, 4 months in all. So we don't really have a date. Like with Chandrayaan 3, when the launch had taken place here in Sriharikota, they had told us that August 23rd is the date when it would touch down on the moon's surface. They'd given 40 days. Now, because it's a longer time span of about 120 to 125 days, they're not really telling us when it could reach there, but 4 months is a given, considering the amount that it will have to travel. You also had, in fact, the mission director giving some crucial details about how they've kind of tweaked how they usually let their satellites travel. In this particular case, they've used also a very different descent mechanism, and they're hoping that all of that will help in ensuring that Aditya L1 reaches its intended location, the imaginary point of Lagrange 1, where it will do a halo orbit for 5 years once it reaches that particular spot. Picture perfect textbook launch as expected, Sneha. We expect nothing less from our ISRO scientists, considering that all over the world they're recognized right now for their perfect launches. And of course, other countries also come to us to ensure that these kind of launches take place, courtesy our PSLV and our GSLV. In this case, it was a PSLV C-57. The sheer power of that monster, I think when I witnessed it firsthand here, I realized that the name India's Bahubali is so very fitting for this particular rocket, because the sheer power that it unleashes as it went up to the skies. 63 minutes, Sneha. This is the longest launch that we've seen ever by the PSLV. 63 minutes it took for the final phase to be accomplished, which is when you saw the applause breaking out. And of course, those pictures that always bring a smile to all of our faces of the ISRO chief, of Dr. Somnath, being congratulated by everyone happy and all hugs being exchanged. It's a moment of great relief for them. But this is just the first step of what's going to be a long journey of sheer hard work and grit for our ISRO scientists, even as, Sneha, they're working on the next one. In 3 weeks from from now, I'll have to come back here because once again, there's going to be a test vehicle launch. This is for Gaganyaan. It's the first step of many more tests that will happen. But nonetheless, a huge, huge moment and a moment of great pride for all of us. I'm going to be catching, hopefully, Mr. Somnath and the entire team behind Aditya L1 here in a few moments. They're going to be headed here anytime now. So we'll be getting you those live images and hopefully their exclusive first reactions.
All right, Akshita, I'm going to in fact ask you to continue to be with us. Akshita did point out that indeed it took 63 minutes. It's the longest time a mission has essentially taken, but also to tell our viewers that the vehicle that Aditya 1 is using is PSLV XL, which in fact has taken 25 such missions so far, including one, in fact, missions to the moon and also to the Mars. But this one, to the sun, to the point L1, is the longest journey that is going to be taken by the vehicle, essentially. I'm going to ask Akshita to be with us. Pramod Madhav is also, in fact, with us. And Pramod was there at that point in time and that very moment when the launch happened. This is a report that Pramod sent us just some time ago.
There it is, the rocket has been lit up and it goes up, it's soaring up. That is PSLV C57 right in front of our eyes. That's the rocket carrying Aditya L1. This is an amazing moment because recently Isro scientifically conquered the moon as well. On the far side, Isro, the Pragyan rover, as we speak, is investigating, and there we have been told that the liftoff is normal and the rocket has lifted off. It's soaring up to the sky with Aditya L1, which has 7 payloads. And the satellite's important aspect is that it is going to study about the sun. What you're hearing right now is a rumble from the rocket because sound travels lesser than the speed of light. That's what you see currently. That is a rumble as the rocket soars up, breaking the escape velocity that is 11.2 kilometers per second. And as we see, that's the rocket that has gone up in the sky. And this is a very important part because now Aditya L1, after 4 months, it will reach a point called as Lagrange point. There it will be stationed in a halo orbit. And this is something called as a 3-point problem, where now Isro scientists have created solved the equation where they have to take care of three objects: the sun, the earth, and the satellite. And Lagrange 1 point is some point where the gravitational force of the sun and the gravitational force of the earth will meet in a point where which if you put an object, it can rotate stationary. This is a calculation. This is purely calculation based. And right now, PSLV C57 has lifted off with Aditya L1 as we speak and soaring up to the sky. And like the Aditya L1 is a very important satellite. It's carrying 7 payloads, and we are going to learn about how the sun's surface is acting, the corona, the chronosphere, the photosphere. Because on the sun's surface, yes, we all know that the sun is the one that is powering life on Earth and it is governing this entire solar system. But how the solar flare and everything works is something we need to learn because this is a kind of like a solar storm or solar flare, but nothing but a sudden gush of energy that leaves the sun's surface and it impacts every planet, including Earth. All this will be clearly studied, recorded, and the data will be provided for ISRO for studying. Zibyan, Pramod Madhav for India Today.
Congratulations. The Aditya L1 spacecraft has been injected in an elliptical orbit of 235 by 19,500 kilometers, which is intended very precisely by the PSLV, very unique mission mode here, with the upper stage of the PSLV taking 2 burn sequence for injecting the primary satellite for the first time. So I want to congratulate PSLV for such a very different mission approach today to do this mission of Aditya L1 to put it in the right orbit.
Congratulations, ISRO. And while the whole world watched this with bated breath, it is indeed a sunshine moment for India. Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, for making this happen by opening up new vistas for India's space sector and telling us the sky is not the limit. Indian scientists had been working, toiling day and night for years and years together, but now comes the moment of vindication, the moment of redeeming the pledge to the nation.
All right, and meet the project director of the ambitious mission Aditya L1 from Tamil Nadu is Nigar Shahji. Hailing from a farming family, she is originally from Shengotai, Tamil Nadu, India, where she pursued her engineering degree at the Tirunelveli Government Engineering College. Nigar Shahji joined the Indian Space Research Organization in the year 1987, marking the beginning of her career in space research. Now, after working for some time, she joined the U.R. Rao Satellite Center in Bangalore. Working in various positions there, Nigar Shahji, Professor Shahji, took charge as the Aditya L1 project director. Before joining the solar mission, the professor, Nigar Shahji, was involved in the design of the Indian remote sensing, communication, and interplanetary satellites in various capacities.
Started this 125 days of long journey towards L1. We have our Earth burns to rise the orbit, and followed by the trans L1 injection, and finally insertion into the halo orbit in the Sun-Earth Lagrange point L1. Once the Aditya is commissioned, it will be an asset to the heliophysics of the country and even to the global scientific fraternity.
All right, we're talking about the professor, the woman professor, the scientist, essentially Professor Nigar Shahji, who in fact was the director of this mission, Aditya L1, which Isro says is successful. In fact, everything about this entire project has just given us Indians so much reason to cheer, given that this, of course, is India's first solar mission. Clearly, like I've been saying, our feet on the moon and eyes on the sun. That continues to be our top focus story right here. For the moment, it's time for a quick commercial break.
Once again, India Today wins Best Channel of the Year.
Thank you very much, viewers, for making the India Today group the most awarded TV news network at the ENVA Awards 2023.
Well, as you know, complex war games and military exercises take many weeks to plan and many weeks to execute. There are a lot of moving parts. There is a great deal of detailing that goes into putting together a military exercise of this scale. And the Trishul exercise, by all accounts, is going to be a pretty extensive exercise. As India Today's Manjeet Negi has reported, the Air Force is going to be deploying almost all of its air assets, or at least airframes from all of its aircraft fleets at the border areas, with China, whether it is Ladakh or J&K or Punjab or Himachal. It's going to be a big exercise. But let's never forget that there is a great deal of messaging also that happens. The G20 also isn't something that was decided just a few weeks ago. It's been a long time, in the planning phase as well. The dates have been known for a long time as well. So the Indian Air Force deciding to put up this offensive combat war game, military drill, whatever you want to call it, at a time when all these countries are going to be in India. There's still suspense over Xi Jinping's attendance, despite what Reuters and others are reporting. There's no official confirmation, but assuming that even if he doesn't come, the fact is the psychological effect of a vast military exercise on the China border at a time when the India-China standoff continues to be the largest military standoff in the world at this point of time, sends out a huge message as far as a country that will do what it takes to defend itself against an unpredictable and an unsavory neighbor that continues to have territorial ambitions. This is a country, remember, that literally all other, many members of the G20 have problems with, whether it is, whether it is the United States, whether it is Canada, whether it is the United Kingdom. all of these countries have their own individual issues with China, but it is India that is fighting China face to face, diplomatically, and of course militarily as well. So this exercise Trishul by the Indian Air Force is one element of a game that India, in my opinion, has been late to come to, but is obviously playing it really, really well and playing it in a hard-nosed fashion. Playing mind games, psychological operations, power projection, showing what the Indian Air Force is capable of, choosing to do it using air power, which the Indian Air Force and the Indian government know, the India enjoys a huge advantage on, especially in Eastern Ladakh. So all of these factors go into the subtle and overt interplay between two countries that could very well be at war. Thankfully, that's a remote prospect. But this war game certainly goes a great distance in telling both China and the world that India is not just any other country.
You are watching India Today.
Two arch rivals India and Pakistan are all set to meet at 3 p.m. in one of the most awaited matches of this year. Well, it's India and Pakistan. This is going to be India's first match in Asia Cup 2023. Pakistan will be coming on the back of a big victory against Bangladesh. Here's more.
What have you got, Nawaz? Ashwin goes on!
The two fiercest rivals played out a game of a lifetime the last time they went head-to-head. Fast forward to 2023 and the two teams meet again.
This game was gone. Virat Kohli pulled it back. What a champion.
This time for continental bragging rights. While Pakistan go into the match on the back of a big win in the tournament opener, India will be playing their first match. In a World Cup year, the stakes are high and both teams would want to make a statement.
And it will go crazy. It has been crazy.
देखिए बहुत अच्छी टीम है पिछले कुछ सालों में उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा परफॉर्मेंस किया है चाहे T20 वर्ल्ड कप हो 50 ओवर फॉर्मेट हो कोई भी टीम ऐसे ही नंबर वन नहीं बनती है मेहनत होता है उसके पीछे और आई एम श्योर कि पाकिस्तान टीम ने काफी मेहनत किया है इसके पीछे और काफी यूनिट जैसी टीम है अच्छा क्रिकेट खेल रही है हमारे लिए अच्छा चैलेंज होगा ऐसे टीम के सामने खेलना और ऐसे टीम के सामने परफॉर्मेंस करना.
India's playing 11 is still a mystery. There is no KL Rahul for the match and Ishan Kishan looks all set to replace him. Where he bats is a different matter altogether. The one man Pakistan would be wary of is Jasprit Bumrah. He's making a comeback after a long injury layoff and was impressive on his recent outings in Ireland.
Early, and it's a soft dismissal.
For Pakistan, their captain Babar Azam will again be the key man. He slammed a big ton against Nepal, and India will have to come up with a plan against the man who's the fastest to 19 ODI hundreds.
नहीं कुछ ऐसा प्रेशर नहीं पास में जो पीछे गुजर गया उस पर हम फोकस नहीं कर रहे जो आने वाला उस पर फोकस कर रहे हैं और कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि जो बेस्ट है हमारा वो अप्लाई करें जो मोमेंटम हमारे पास उसको कंटिन्यू करें और मेरे ख्याल से सारे लड़के काफ़ी एक्साइटेड हैं आपको पता है कि इंडिया पाकिस्तान का हमेशा हाई इंटेंसिटी वाला गेम होता है और जो मेन चीज़ फैंस काफ़ी इस चीज़ को वेट करते हैं तो हम भी काफ़ी एक्साइटेड हैं खेलने के लिए और इंशाल्लाह अच्छी क्रिकेट खेलेंगे.
With the ball, their strength lies in the pace bowling attack that has the likes of Shaheen Shah Afridi and Haris Rao. It's the first of potentially 3 meetings between the two teams in this year's Asia Cup. But regardless, both would want nothing but a win.
Some of his best innings.
Let no one tell you that this is a league match, so there will be no pressure.
That's because there is no India-Pakistan match without the pressure of performance. And that pressure will be doubled when you consider the fact that this game comes exactly a month before the big Cricket World Cup. So in the sense, this is the start or the road to the Cricket World Cup. Whatever happens here will have a bearing on how these two teams perform at the cricket's biggest showpiece event. This is Nikhil Naz at the Pallekal International Stadium for India Today.
The story and much more up on our website as well. That's indiatoday.in. You can also download the India Today app. News continues right here. Thanks for watching.
You are watching India Today.
The G20, or Group of 20, is a crucial bloc of nations formed in 1999 in response to several economic crises, particularly the South Asian economic crisis. Essentially, it was the G7 which was expanded to G20. The richest countries roped in the emerging economies as well to share the burden of the crisis. 19 countries and the European Union make up the G20. Besides India, Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, South Africa, Turkey, America, and the United Kingdom are a part of the G20. Now, this intergovernmental forum is a very crucial one. Between these countries I listed, 80% of the gross world product, 75% of international trade, and 2/3 of the global population is covered. This is a trade bloc, which means that the focus is largely on international economic and financial issues. Here are the stated objectives of the G20. First, policy coordination between its members in order to achieve global economic stability and sustainable growth. Second, to promote financial regulations that reduce risks and prevent future financial crises. And third, to create a new international financial architecture. The G20 operates without a permanent secretariat or staff. The chair rotates annually among the members and is selected from a different regional grouping of countries. The chair is part of a revolving 3-member management group of past, present, and future chairs referred to as the Troika. So currently, the G20 chair or the presidency is with us, with India, handed to us during the Bali summit in November 2022. It was made official on December 1st, 2022. So India has now launched a website, taken over all digital platforms for the next 1 year of the G20, and is holding a slew of events to engage and ensure that this is a people's G20 as stated. India is hosting over 200 meetings in over 50 cities across 32 different work streams and will have the opportunity to offer G20 delegates and guests a glimpse of India's rich cultural heritage and provide them with a unique Indian experience. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also unveiled the logo, theme and website of the 2023 G20 Summit on November 8th.
इस लोगो और थीम के जरिए हमने ये संदेश दिया है, हिंसा के प्रतिरोध में महात्मा गांधी के जो समाधान है, G20 के जरिए भारत उनकी वैश्विक प्रतिष्ठा को नई ऊर्जा दे रहा है.
Now, India's G20 presidency theme of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is One Earth, One Family, One Future. The G20 summit with all world leaders will reportedly be held in September 2023. Now, when a country assumes the presidency, they also get to choose the focus area of that year. And India has indicated that the focus will be digitization to transform lives.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Well, I always wanted a tank for my preferred car at home. And then Land Rover launches the Defender. Now, we know all about Land Rover and, of course, the Range Rovers we've had on the show, all their off-roading capabilities and what amazing cars they make, well, for all your adventures. But this is an expensive beast, and we'll give you the price at the end of this Tech Today special. But what's it like as a luxury SUV? Is it only for enthusiasts? And what's the real tech on display that makes everything click in this particular Defender? That's what we're going to find out on this episode of Tech Today. Well, before I tell you about all the tech in the car that makes the off-roading possible and makes this a very comfortable car, and of course, all the other things that are happening when it comes to ride quality, well, this is one of the most commanding cars on the road. Now, this is the 110. There's a much larger version, which is, of course, one more row of seats. You can see the design is absolutely mind-bogglingly good. Pangea green is the color. And, you know, the camera team was telling me earlier that it changes color when light really hits the surface. I think this really is an ode to the original Land Rover heritage. And I think a lot of DNA from the Discovery line as well. But you see the way the lights are laid out, the way the grille is, and these massive wheels. They seem a little bit oversized, and you think, okay, maybe this might not be the best car to drive on Mumbai roads, but you'd be wrong. This is no longer a ladder on frame construction. This Defender is now a monocoque. That means that with this stiffer suspension, driving it in the city is actually a practical option. And I will take you out for a quick road test. But let's show you the back of the car as well. You see these nice little carve-outs over here. I'm going to call them something later on in the show, so you've got to stay tuned. But special windows if you want to go out on a safari maybe. And then if you come at the back, you see this entire design. It's a little boxy, but the fact that it now has so much more tech, like an air suspension, means that the minute you open this, you can literally fit a house in the back of the Defender, and that's without folding the seats over here. If you fold them all the way down, that's another story altogether. There's enough space over here. Now, just to show you how this air suspension tech can make your life so much easier, ingress, egress, getting in and out of the car, weight sensing, off-roading, it all changes. And even if you want to load the car, right now it's at its maximum height. So if you wanted to, well, check how high that is, it's somewhere over here. I press this button. It's going down, a real sense of power. And you can see right over here, that's maybe more than 3 inches. Honestly, that's a fair amount, nearly, well, enough for you to find it a lot more comfortable to get into the car and to get out of the car. I love the way, old school, you can open the boot and it gives you that nice, solid thud. Well, the good thing about this car is, and yes, it's some really tough doors. When you do sit in the car, you have these door handles to hold on to. And the cool part over here is these peek holes that you can actually check out the sights and sounds from. Some people who don't like all the light coming in might crib, but listen, not in an adventure off-roader, which is also capable of being a luxury SUV. When you compare it to the other Range Rovers, there's a lot more luxury and performance that is built into those cars. And a little less off-roading, but they're still off-road capable. But this car has that off-roading capability supercharged. And, well, luxury is still something that you can consider. It's not like you're sitting in a Thar or a Jeep Rubicon. It's very comfortable. In fact, while sitting in the back, and when we had the crew members sitting in the back as well, they found it incredibly comfortable because of that stiff suspension. And the fact that it's no longer a ladder on frame construction, I think that makes it very, very comfortable to sit out here. Also, you have not much of the transmission tunnel bump over here, but yes, you do have this air conditioning system and, of course, the center armrest right there. So these two seats are fine, but the real magic happens in the front of the car. Now, just in terms of the tech on display and what makes this car so easy to use and genuinely doesn't intimidate you about the size and you know the entire scale of what you're driving. If you look at this particular infotainment system, looks tiny out here, but I think this is the perfect size in terms of clarity, UI. It's amazing. Look, it's PV Pro. That's what all the JLR cars run on. And compared to what BMW is doing, Mercedes is doing, I genuinely think that this is the most refined infotainment UI UX in any vehicle on planet Earth. I really think it gets the job done. It's consistent, it's slick, and you can do all sorts of things with this particular system. Now, if we look at some of the features which make you feel like you are sitting in a Range Rover perhaps, well, you have air quality right here. And like it shows you the pollution levels outside, it tells you when you purify it, the lovely animation comes into being, and then it starts purifying the cabin. That's not all. One thing I find very interesting is if you go for either of these rows, and there's a third row, of course, at the back, which is maybe for the kids, you have an auto airflow option. Now, what does an auto airflow option really do? Whenever you put automatic climate control, because it's really hot here in Mumbai and in Delhi, it's going to come like a blast.
Waterproofing is not easy, Ranveer.
Hello, hydrolock ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳಿಲ್ವಾ?
Hydrolock?
ಹಾ, ವಾಟರ್ ಪ್ರೂಫಿಂಗ್ ನ ಚಾಂಪಿಯನ್ ಏಷ್ಯನ್ ಪೇಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಲಾಕ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್. ಒಡೆಯದೆ ಬಡಿಯದೆ ತೇವ ರಿಪೇರಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತು ವರ್ಷಗಟ್ಲೆ ಬಾಳುತ್ತೆ.
ಈ ಏಷ್ಯನ್ ಪೇಂಟ್ಸ್ ನವರು ಬ್ಯಾಡ್ಮಿಂಟನ್ ಕೂಡ ಕಲಿಸ್ತಾರಾ?
ಏನು ಸಿಂಧು, ಏಷ್ಯನ್ ಪೇಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಲಾಕ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್. ಒಡೆಯದೆ ಬಡಿಯದೆ ವಾಟರ್ ಪ್ರೂಫಿಂಗ್.
It has to be wireless because of all the things you need to do with your phone. Now, on, well, a hot summer day like this, you can always cool things in this fridge and store, well, all your special packages there as well. Another feature that is unique to Range Rovers and Land Rover is weight sensing. This essentially is how your car would actually be driving through water on the road. Or if you're crossing maybe a stream which is not necessarily flowing very, very vigorously, well, the system of the car actually warns the driver that the maximum wading depth has been approached. So, for instance, if I want to raise the car right now, I'm already feeling a little elevated. The car has gone up